Welcome to the Found Her podcast. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Shannon.
And we are the filmmaker, photographer, and co-founders of Found Her Productions. Together, we capture the essence of women so they can communicate their truth with confidence and ease.
Through working with our clients, we've learned that each of their stories are so unique and, to our surprise, mostly nonlinear. We believe these stories deserve to be heard to inspire women along their own journey to finding themselves and creating the life that they truly desire.
This podcast is where badass, trailblazing boss ladies will expose the ups, the downs, and everything else involved in creating their own path in work and in life.
So sit back, get comfy, and get ready to be inspired.
Welcome back to the Found Her podcast. We are your co-hosts and the co-founders of Found Her Productions. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Shannon.
Hello, everybody. Today we have a very awesome guest. Her name is Camille, and she is a business consultant and serial entrepreneur. Her businesses include her consulting business, Work with Camille, where she helps fellow entrepreneurs breathe life into their visions through effective strategy, bringing them from confusion into clarity. She also operates an activewear clothing line called Harborfront, a dinnerware line, Santos and Cruz, among other things, I'm sure. And we have had the ultimate pleasure of working with Camille for the last 6 months on our own business, which has been tremendously helpful for us. We just love how authentic she is. She can lay out the honest truth and then follow it up with a good laugh. And we're so thrilled to have her here to have a conversation. Hi, Camille. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for those kind words.
Yeah, of course. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, and thank you for being here. We'd love to start things off the way we normally start things off, and that's by inviting you to do something we call the brag spotlight. So we just want to hear a win from you. It can be big or small, everything counts. And the reason we do this is to take women out of their kind of more comfortable position of being the cheerleader and put the spotlight on them as the star of their own reality. And we do this by celebrating our accomplishments here at Found Her Productions. So we'd love to invite you to do that, Camille.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Hard words to follow from Kelsey there. But I'll give it a go. My biggest accomplishment to date still remains the fact that I was able to quit my corporate job of 12 years and start my own thing, which led to another thing and another thing. And to date, yeah, that's just it for me. I still sometimes I'm in awe sometimes of how far I was able to take things from that day, and just remembering how nervous I was. And yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can relate. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, definitely.
For sure. That's a huge one. 12 years in a corporate career. That's like a long time.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Can you go back a little bit and walk us through what brought you to that after 12 years and what that experience was like?
100%. There were a few moments in my career, definitely, where I just felt like I needed to change. And at first I thought, oh, well, maybe I just need to shift roles or be in a different position or get a new office or whatever the case was. So I did a little bit of hopping for sure. And I never felt satisfied, if I'm being completely honest. And, it really just took me being unhappy, unfortunately, for me to take that next step. And I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs can relate. I really was just miserable. I was miserable, depressed, upset, dreaded going to work. And just to put things in perspective, the last role that I held in the corporate world was a role that was designed for me, meaning I was able to just do whatever I wanted. And I still wasn't happy. And I took that as a sign.
Yeah. This is as good as it's going to get.
Pretty much, yeah.
What was it about that? Like the role was designed for you. You could do whatever you want. Like it's so close to, sounds like so close to running your own show. Like what was it about it that just wasn't good enough?
I think at the end of the day, when you're in a corporate setting, you still report to somebody. So whether that's the director or the founder or the CEO, there's still someone else's vision that you're fulfilling. There's still someone else's direction to a certain extent that you're looking to take or that you have to take. So I think that just not being able to do everything that I wanted and only being able to, move around within a certain scope really was just that straw that broke my back, so to speak.
For sure. What were the types of corporate jobs you were working in at the time?
Yeah, so I actually had the same job since I was 18 and I just moved up really quickly. Yeah, it was for, I'm not going to say the name of the company.
Okay, that's fine.
It was for a big company, a big Canadian owned company. I started off literally at the bottom working part-time overnight and worked my way up to head office in a small satellite location in Toronto. Yep. And yeah, I did everything from management to financial management to restructuring, all that fun stuff. Hundreds and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in some cases.
Wow.
So yeah.
I have a question for you. What do you do what do you encourage your clients to do to mentally prime yourself to take a leap like that?
That's such a great question. I honestly just ask them to spend some time alone. And that could look like a bunch of different things, but usually it requires some form of, meditation or journaling, just to get really honest and talk about all the things with yourself that you probably don't want to say out loud or aren't ready to say out loud just yet to anybody else. You have to first admit those things to yourself.
Yeah. And allow yourself to want them too, which I feel like is so much easier said than done based on my own experience.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But when you write it in like a journal, it almost feels like a diary confession.
Yeah, it's a little secret.
Right?
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's something about having to like take it out of your head and like put it on paper that brings so much clarity. Like I feel like you can have thoughts like that swirling around in your head that are just buried by all these other external things and distractions and everything. But when you have to sit down and pull it out and put it on paper, like it can be a huge game changer.
100%. I always tell people that's literally the first step in making your vision a reality. You're putting it into some physical form, even if it's just quote unquote pen to paper, like that's the first step.
Yeah.
That's usually why you feel so relieved. It's because it's out there and it's real and it's right.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of like a dirty little secret. It's like a clean little secret that you have and that you got like, it's your starting point to like a really good thing, a really positive thing that's going to cause you to grow as you move towards it, as you move towards attaining it and making it your reality.
I love that. What's your clean little secret?
Yeah.
It almost feels like a dirty little secret though. Like it's like you say, just write it down on a piece of paper. It's like that actually can be really scary.
Yeah.
And it almost feels wrong or like it almost feels dirty or something.
Did you find
it's like the first form of it. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was going to say, did you find, Camille, that you were able to find your clean little secret the first time that you like did a journal session, or did it take multiple tries and like multiple, like some time to come to it?
It definitely took some time because I spent a lot of time in my head. I'm sure, again, a lot of people can relate to that. And I definitely admitted to myself, this clean little secret to myself in my head, before putting it down on paper and making it real.
And what does it feel like in your body when you come to it and you know this is it? Like,
oh my goodness, a million things. You feel right. You feel relieved. I think relief is the biggest piece. I felt so wound up before, so tight, so upset, so unlike myself. And as soon as I admitted all of those things to myself or to the piece of paper in front of me, I just felt so much better. And everything just started falling into place. The weekend after I did it, the Monday after the weekend I did it, I quit my job.
yes,
Wow.
that's so powerful.
Taking action.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Wow. So you must have felt pretty sure about it.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
That's so amazing.
That's
My experience
amazing.
is definitely different than that. It took me like a long time to to get to the goal, the clean little secret, and then to allow myself to actually say out loud that that's what I wanted. And it took me months to do it. So I'm always really impressed with people like you, Camille, who can kind of like decide quickly and then take action quickly. And I feel like when I hear about Kelsey's experience too, it reminds me of that.
Sounds a lot like
really
that.
Similar.
Yeah. Yeah. Very similar. Like it was like I made the decision and I followed through with it like the next day.
Yeah. Well, I just found out you're a Gemini also, Kelsey. It was your birthday the other day, right?
Yeah. Are you a Gemini?
I'm a Gemini. I don't know if it's a Gemini thing, but
maybe it is. It totally
is. It totally is. We are doers.
Yeah, 100. We don't like to dwell. Once the decision's been made, we're like, yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Ready, set, integrate.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh my God. I love that you're a Gemini. I'm so not surprised. That explains like the serial entrepreneur thing.
Oh my God, it really does.
Balls in the air.
Wow, I'm really starting to see how many similarities you two have now that I'm thinking about it.
That's so funny. Yeah, yeah. We actually have like a lot of our clients are Geminis and like I always get along so well with them. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So you quit the job and then what? Where'd you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I was already kind of dabbling in things that I thought I wanted to do. Part of my process really included just exposing myself to different things. I actually took a bit of a sabbatical from work before officially quitting. There was a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, you know, and it just made sense. I feel like the universe was definitely pushing me in the direction of out, you know. So, so I continued consulting. I continued with Harborfront and I just did all the things that I felt like I could do because for the first time in my life, I did not have a time constriction. Yeah.
That is like so freeing.
Yeah.
It's honestly, I remember feeling really free by that, but also not really knowing how to like work with that. My thing when I started being an entrepreneur was the early stages of entrepreneurship or of self-employment look a lot like unemployment.
Yeah.
And it's like up to me to do something about that.
Yeah, that's so brilliant. This is so true. Yeah.
If you didn't know any better, like if someone didn't know that I had made this decision to become an entrepreneur, they would optically just see me sitting in my bedroom at my computer and have no idea that like I'm in the early stages of starting a business.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And like having like the freedom too of going from like working under like the framework of like a day job and people are expecting you to show up and be there and be at the meetings. It's like going from that to you are responsible for setting all of that up for yourself now.
Yeah. One of my coaches said the other day, you create the structure that you can be free within. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, Camille. Like, do you think that's
that's right up my alley. That is right up my alley. I mean, you know, I love me some good structure, but I, you know, as a true Gemini, I really love
not too much.
I have to, yeah. And I think that's why I'm such a huge fan of it, is because I know how I can be without those restrictions, without those boundaries.
Same.
And I really value all the systems that I learn about, that all the systems that I create, so that I can just allow myself to, you know, they're almost like bumpers where you're like on a bowling alley. When the ball rolls too far, you don't want to end up in the gutter. You just got to stay in that lane. So
like it's okay if you hit the bumper as long as you're not in the gutter.
Exactly, because then that gutter leads you straight to, you know, the end there, and that's not where I want to be.
There's no turning back. You're stuck. That's a good analogy. I like that. So what led you to wanting to work with other entrepreneurs in like your consulting business? Did you go straight into the consulting business after you left your job?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you did some consulting and then it formed itself into a business, or how did that work?
It's a really great question. Initially, I thought I was going to be working full-time on Harborfront because I found that after a day of work, I was just drained. I didn't want to work on my side hustle, as some people like to call it. I just wasn't interested. I was tired, and a lot of that that fatigue came from the stress of working a job that I hated. So I was working on Harborfront a little bit, but just before I quit my job, I actually was approached by a good friend turned client of mine who was having a lot of issues in her business structurally. So she hired me to work with her part-time. And from there, I kind of just went straight into that in addition to Harborfront after I quit my job. And it just exploded from there. Like I said earlier, everything just started falling into place. I started getting referrals. As soon as people heard that I quit my job, they're like, oh my God, I need you right now.
Oh my God.
And it kind of just turned into a whole thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
I know.
Wow.
How does it feel to be so
great.
high in demand?
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels great. I can't say that I'm surprised because I've heard of people telling me like, oh, I can't wait to work with you in the future. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but it just made sense. Everything just started clicking, and it just felt really, really good.
Do you think hearing things like that like added to your confidence to make that decision to take the leap?
100%. I feel like one of the things that I had a really hard time with, I would say mentally, was understanding that there were entrepreneurs out there that have been doing the entrepreneur thing for longer than I have. But when I look at my experience as a whole, it's really hard to compete with 12 years worth of, corporate and just overall business savvy. So I really, I took a look at that, and it just put things in perspective for me and really just added to the confidence factor for sure.
Cool. Yeah. I learned a term yesterday, actually, intrapreneur, and I'd never heard it before. Have you heard this before?
What?
Intrapreneur is basically somebody that works within an organization, but has like a similar approach to an entrepreneur, basically, to their job. And it sounds like they were kind of empowering you to be an entrepreneur in order to not lose you.
Exactly.
And like kind of, it sounded like they were trying to give you that like freedom you were looking for, but I think ultimately you needed to access it elsewhere in a different way by the sounds of it.
Exactly.
But because your position, in my opinion, or the way that I'm looking at it, was that intrapreneur position, to me, it makes perfect sense that you would be qualified and licensed to help entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. So what were some of the takeaways? Yeah, I've never heard that. What were some of the takeaways from the roles you had there as an entrepreneur? Intrapreneur,
I believe.
Intrapreneur?
Yeah.
Okay. What were some of the takeaways you took from that you found effective, and then you put your own spin on? Like, how did that all kind of come together?
Transferable skills.
Right?
Oh, there you go. Another fancy term.
So official. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, what transferable skills did I have?
Did I just
All
turn
of a
this
sudden
into like a job interview?
Yeah. No pressure.
Read us your resume.
Right?
I got too formal there. Forgive me.
It's okay. Okay. Definitely a lot of it was the structure. In the corporate world, there's calendars, there's documents, there's practices, there's procedures, there's mission statements, there's all these things that I feel a lot of entrepreneurs have in their heart, have in their mind, but they don't know how to, let it out or what should be prioritized. So definitely the number one thing is the structural component, which spans across so many different, I guess, areas of business, right? Where I had a client who needed contracts. So I'm not a lawyer, but I have, standard contracts that I was used to working with or that I had to formulate that we got refined by a lawyer in their niche. I had clients that needed, financial support. They didn't know how to pull financial statements or didn't track their numbers and didn't have any sense of where they were going, where they were, what they were doing, but then told me that they were successful, So it really just depends. I have other clients that need, support with hiring teams, training teams, or training in sales or sales processes. Like there's so many things that could go on and on and on. Yeah, but those were the main things for sure.
That's a lot of things that, like, being a business owner, you don't know anything about. Like, it's such a valuable takeaway. There's so much, like, to the back end of, like, running a business that, like, before working with you, I didn't even know existed.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes me feel good, but also like so curious to hear more.
Yeah, I actually think this is really common for people who study or practice art, like doing art as a career, basically. I think this is a really common thing. So this could be a really juicy conversation to unpack.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, like, I mean, for us in our business, we're like creatives, right? So I don't know why I put that in quotation marks. We are creatives.
Yes, you are.
But so like naturally we focus on the kind of like outer layer of the business, you know, like the like how we come across, like the more tangible things, the things that people see, the communications, like the what we're actually creating, right?
The deliverables that the clients are like investing in. We prioritize that.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And we put a lot of thought and passion into that, but it's like you can only deliver so much of that if the back end of the business is like a complete disaster. But that can feel really overwhelming, I think, like from a creative person's perspective, like the thought of dealing with that stuff, I'm just like, oh, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know. So just, I don't know, what you do is so valuable, and I think every business owner should have a Camille in their lives.
I would imagine it's, for a lot of people, it's the reason that they don't go into business doing the creative thing that they love to do, because there's so many different components to it that they might feel overwhelmed by or scared of, and kind of just don't even attempt or don't even bother, you know? But then with the help of some... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kelsey.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just going to say, or maybe feel like you have to like learn about that stuff or have it all in place before you start the business, where like you can figure it out as you go with help, you know, but I think that was like something that stopped me for a long time, was like, I don't know how to run a business. I'm not like, I didn't go to school for business. So like, but I don't know what I'm doing but when I came to a point where I was like, oh, I'm just going to put myself out there and create the stuff I want to create and like figure it out as I go. And that's like totally possible.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to hear that side of it, which I tend to hear a lot of, but I feel the opposite way. When I was starting my business, it's like, I didn't want to put myself out there, like with photos, and especially with my product, I was just like, everything was just kind of like a secret for a while. Like I didn't want to put myself out there that way, but the back end was tight. Like,
naturally. I would hope the back end was tight.
It was
Jeez,
tight.
come on.
I know. But yeah, I mean, my social media wasn't the best. Like the photos were great, but like, you want to talk about like designing and stuff like that, like I have a creative bone in me for sure, but I just I wasn't ready to share that part with the world yet. I was known as Camille, the systems oriented girl, and that's what I did.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. You know, there's actually, I'm seeing like a takeaway here, like hearing like our different perspectives. Like you're like someone that focuses on the back end, so you had that figured out, but the more external visible part wasn't like your strength, whereas like we are the opposite of that, which is why collaborating and getting help from other professionals in your business is super, super important.
Oh my
right?
gosh, yeah. Oh, that's
Absolutely.
so interesting. Oh,
Right?
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think about like the reasons why we attracted each other, I guess, because that's kind of a fun thing. Is like I don't know, I found you on Instagram or something. It was super, super random. I was just poking around online, and I love looking at the presences of other female entrepreneurs out there, and I stumbled upon you, and I was like, oh man, she's like has everything I want from like a business coach. And maybe we're everything she needs from like an image creator perspective, like, you know, and I couldn't help myself. I had to reach out, and that was, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago now. And here we are, we've done our shoot together, and we've gotten some of your coaching, and here we are kind of elevating each other and helping each other grow, which is a really cool thing to kind of acknowledge, I guess. It's just, it's all just hitting me in this moment.
No,
same here.
Honestly,
I didn't actually look at it
great.
like that, like simplified, but it's such a good example of how like as an entrepreneur, you don't have to be able to do it all.
No.
I think this is also,
and it's okay.
I think this is also a really great example of the universe will provide you with everything that you need as you need it type thing. And I think we all just found each other when we needed to find each other, when it made sense to.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Very poetic. Very, very creative of you guys.
Again, naturally. We really do complete each other, don't we?
Yes, we sure
That's
do.
you, I
We
mean.
sure-
That's amazing.
I love it. I love it.
So when you started your other businesses like Santos and Cruz, like that's more of a creative business for you, right? Because you get to like
Yes.
design this stuff, or with Harborfront too. Was it the same approach? Like was the back end like good to go before you kind of like put it out there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't help myself, right? It's just kind of doing what I do naturally. I just need to make sure that things are done. Otherwise, I don't feel comfortable putting anything out there. But with that said, I definitely took a different approach than I did when I first started Harborfront, because this is now my third business. So I hired some digital marketing strategists and creative people and work with you to just really help me focus on the external pieces that I just wasn't interested in doing, to be honest with you. Like I know better than to trust myself with those things. So I hire out.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to admit that. There's nothing
Oh my
wrong with
gosh.
admitting that you're not good at something, because there is someone out there who loves doing that exact thing that you hated.
Oh my God. Hence, yeah, like the perfect example of that is our bookkeeper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was just thinking about that.
100%.
Shout out to you, methodically yours, Erin Malcolm.
Yeah. Because she was like, oh my God. We're like, oh, our books are a mess. And she's just like, I
Gimme.
love cleaning up those messes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I was like, really?
Actually,
Okay, here you go.
I would love to talk about the topic of delegating, though, because I feel like for every entrepreneur, this is something that you run into at some point or another. If your business is growing, if you're intentional about scaling, intentional about scaling your business, eventually you're going to come to a point where you can't do every single thing yourself, even if you are really, really good at doing everything yourself.
Yes.
So how do you advise people when it comes to delegating for the first time?
Oh boy. Okay. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Yeah.
Oh,
I guess there's probably a ton of
Okay.
variables, right? But some
Yeah,
general
there are.
pointers.
I would say the main thing is, if you hate doing something, then that's usually a sign that you have to delegate it to somebody else, because it's taking up that energy for you to focus on your creative zone of genius.
Oh my God.
Right. And all the things.
Boom.
Right. I know.
Right there. Yes.
And
That's it. Say no more.
right. I know. And all the things that you hate doing, I always advise people to write them down, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. Write it down on a piece of paper, because you know what that item becomes? The job description of the role that you're trying to fill. Right. So it kind of becomes this like really, really easy exercise where you're like, okay, cool. But you know, on the other side of that, I know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs who don't want to delegate because, you know, the business is their baby. And I tell you, I hate to say this, but I've seen people fail as a result. Mm-hmm. Right?
Of course.
Not my
you
not
have
my clients.
So much time.
Yeah. Not my clients.
Not on your watch.
No way.
No. No, never. But I unfortunately have met some entrepreneurs that have failed as a result of not being able to get out of their own way.
Yeah, I guess like you'd probably inevitably experience fatigue and burnout, and then potentially even grow to resent your own business baby
100%.
because you're not happy with how it's not running smoothly, and you're resenting your business baby for it, and just want to give it up instead of, you know, opening up or surrendering to the option of maybe getting a little bit of help.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Is it typically because people are protective over their business, or is it like a financial mindset thing that often prevents people from wanting to
That's
hire?
a good question.
There are so many different reasons. I think some of it is ego. Some of it is definitely financial mindset, which, you know, I always tell my clients, if your mindset isn't right, we can't really proceed any further.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to be able to visualize your
Amen.
own growth. Like that's without
Amen.
you know, without that vision, there's no way I can help you. There's literally
Yeah.
no way I can help you.
I love that. I can just picture you saying that too. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to work with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Very black
Clear
and
on
white.
that clean little secret.
Yeah.
Then we can talk.
Oh my goodness. I did have a conversation with someone the other day, a business owner the other day who's fairly new. Not a client, just, someone that I met, someone that I know. And I said something very similar. I said, I understand that you want to work with me, but I don't think you're in a position to do that right now. And there are a few things that you need to get clear on and make some decisions on before you proceed with not just me, just business in general.
Right.
Or anybody, like anything that you want to do, you got to get clear. You got to make decisions. This isn't something that you can unfortunately half-ass. There's not like, well, I think I'm going to do this and maybe I'll do that. Life doesn't work that way. I've never experienced life to work in that way.
It's almost like the mindset coach would come before the business coach type 100%. Thing. Yeah. And that's how it went in the trajectory of my journey.
And it makes so much sense.
Yeah. And the timing of which this connection was built is starting to make even more sense.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we kind of did that work prior. We had our vision established and we just needed help with it. And then you fell into our laps. So it's like so cool how the universe works. And if anybody's losing faith in their vision or losing faith in being able to do it or not, don't lose faith. Stick with it. And come up with a vision and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Start inwards too, like that's where it all comes from. Like when you're an entrepreneur, you're typically really passionate about what it is you're doing. You got to get that inner work done before you put things before things really start to fall into place, which they will.
I love that you said that because one of my core beliefs is that everything in the universe exists because it's in a relationship with something else. And I feel like the first, like you said, Kelsey, you got to do that inner work because without that it shows that you're not in a relationship with yourself. There's an unalignment, a misalignment, whatever you want to call it. There's something missing there and that relationship doesn't exist. No other relationships can be formed until that relationship with yourself is fixed.
Yeah. I'm just going to sit with that for a second.
I know. Same. Whoa. What else is there to say? Yeah. It's so true. Oh my gosh, could not be more true. I'd love to actually hone in on the financial belief part about delegating because I think that's a really big one for people too. And again, that's got to come from the inner to have that belief that it's okay to spend money in order to make more of it. But it's like everyone has such a twisted relationship with money and that carries over into your business.
It really does. It really does.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, I have a lot to say about this too, but the one thing that I want to say is I want people to be empowered or to feel empowered to make decisions based on where they want to be in their career, in their business, not from where they're at. Because if you continue to make decisions from where you are in your business, I'm sorry to tell you, you're either going to stay the same or just die out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it makes so much sense.
Right?
Like how can you evolve if you're making decisions based on where you are right now?
Yeah.
And that's why that vision piece is so important. If you can't see beyond where you're at, then that's the first problem. You got to address that issue. Right?
Huge problem.
And from there, I know people use money as a crutch, and as someone who's worked in, sales and just business for so long, I don't see it as an excuse. I really don't. There are ways for you, don't quit your job if you can't afford to do it, or if you are in the business and you need to grow, you got to do those calculations. You got to do the math or get your numbers person to do the math for you. How much is it going to cost you, or how much work do you have to do to be able to afford the services that you need? What products do you have to sell? What needs to change? Because there's usually something that you can do within your business without, straining yourself or killing yourself. It's just a matter of addressing those issues and being honest and truthful about what needs to change.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sit with that one too.
Yeah. Just being honest and truthful about what needs to change. Yeah. And then having the commitment to figuring out the financial side of it. It's your business, baby.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And a lot of people, money is a component of business. It's not, it's something that you should be looking at, whether it's yourself or you have a person who's doing it for you and reporting back in a high level manner, but it needs to be addressed. If you're avoiding it, it's because you're not doing the work to fix your relationship with money. So
yeah.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what does a healthy relationship with money look like when it comes to finances in a business?
I think that it's important to know your main metrics. So that could span across, or that looks different across every industry, but bare minimum, you should know what your top line numbers are, what your midline numbers are, and what your bottom line numbers are. Because then that will tell you at least if you're profitable or not. That you should know, bare minimum. I think the other thing is being able to say yes. Like you usually can tell if someone has a good money mindset or has a good relationship with money, because they're not the same person that you met 6 months ago, business wise, or the business is not the same as it looked 6 months ago. Right. I think another piece is they're not alone. That's a big one. They usually have a team, whether that's a remote team or a set of contractors or employees. That's usually a good tell that someone has a good relationship with money. And they talk about it. I mean, I'm not saying you have to talk about dollar figures and, you know, what your net worth is, but it's a conversation that can come up without being awkward. And you can, you know, like, I feel like that's a big one. A lot of people, you can tell, like, I've talked to so many people and they're just so curious about money and they just don't even know how to ask the question, like, are you profitable? Or like, how does this work? Like, they don't know where to start, what to ask. But I think that's a big tell, is being able to talk about it without being weird.
Yeah, basically like not letting it mean anything about who you are as a person.
Exactly. Because
like there's no shame attached there, or just like, also just like the more people talk about it openly, the more people understand that, like, you know, if you didn't profit any money in your first 2 years of business, that's like totally normal, you know, like that's not something to be like ashamed of, you know.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people get caught up in what they see online. I mean, I hate to blame things like social media, but it definitely creates the sense of urgency that most people didn't have before. And I feel like it's everyone's posting their highlight reel, right? Like not everyone's posting like the behind the scenes and what it took to get there. And the reality is like $50,000 could mean a lot of money to us, and it could be no money to someone else. It really depends on your business model. Like I hate when people compare revenues because it doesn't mean anything. Totally. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. That number has been referred to as like the vanity number in some of the like sources I've been learning from.
Yeah.
And your profit is reality.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's also like the fact that like money is like a flowing energy. You know, it's always in and out, in and out, in and out. And that's, you got to keep that flowing. Like, I think when, like, from my experience, like when I was like a really early entrepreneur, I would like make some money, make a sale, and I'd be like, yes, like squirrel it. Like, I got this money. And I didn't want to give it away and spend it back on the business, because I was like, but I just got this money. I don't want to like spend it back on the business, but you have to do that.
Exactly.
And now I've gotten much more comfortable with that, because I can see now how that like contributes to the growth and the evolution. Like I've seen it happen. So now I feel so much more comfortable with the in and out, you know?
Exactly. I love that you said that, because I very much feel the same way about money in terms of the flow. I feel like money is meant to move. And like if you were to treat money like a muscle, what happens when you move your muscle? It grows, right?
Ooh,
right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in order for your money to grow, it has to flow.
That's right. And just like a muscle,
Amazing.
Money is like charged with energy, right?
Exactly.
So it's so interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. 100%.
You're just on with the analogies today, I feel like. This is good. That's great. Yeah, that actually really like it simplifies it so much. It makes so much sense that it's like a muscle that needs energy and movement. Yeah, I wanted to ask about like the I used the phrase in the introduction for you because I remembered it from our shoot with you that I thought is like so good, was that you take your clients from confusion to clarity. I thought you could like, you know, dig into that a little bit, what that means and looks like.
Okay. Confusion to clarity. I mean, it looks different for every client, but essentially it's really just having those conversations that they've never been able to have with other people. I meet a lot of people who are solopreneurs or, you know, sole entrepreneurs who keep a lot of the thoughts to themselves or in their notebook, They don't share it with anybody, and they kind of just go and do their own thing, and cross their fingers and hope everything works. But my role and my first job is to address those things and have a dialogue about it. Get to know their thoughts, their inner workings, why they're doing what they're doing, and just to kind of help put things in perspective, because a lot of the time the client has the answer. They have the answer. They just don't know when or where or how, but they have the most important thing, which is the what and the why, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. The what and the why.
Yeah. So it's just about putting those two things together. I have the other W's and they have the what and the why, and we put it together, and then that's usually where the magic happens.
Nice.
In the beginning stages of clients feel like in the confusing stages, are clients typically like really emotional? And I'm imagining people being really emotional, like coming to you and like being like, help me.
Like all this chaos going on.
I've definitely seen a few tears, for sure. And, you know, it's one of those things. People say business is not personal, or keep the personal part out of business, or whatever they say.
Take the emotion out of it.
There we go. Yeah. Which I think is super ridiculous. Obviously, there are some emotions we want to keep checked, but at the same time, like when you're an entrepreneur, you don't really have that luxury. Like business is personal. You connect with clients because there's a personal connection there. Because
of who you are.
Exactly. Right. Like this would not exist if you weren't an emotional, sentient being. So I think that it's important to address those emotions, whether it's anger, frustration, sadness, happiness, whatever the case may be, just addressing it and letting them know that it's okay to feel however they're feeling.
Wow. It almost sounds like the consulting that you're doing, there's almost like a element of like therapy to it.
It definitely feels like it sometimes. It definitely feels like that sometimes.
I bet.
But
yeah,
I mean, and that's usually why, like, if I meet someone who's not there yet, I cannot take them on, not for their sake, for my sake. Like I can't do anything for them, and it wouldn't be right. And they just really need to, there's no skipping steps here, right? Like you got to get that foundation sound, just like building a house, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense. So like speaking of like vision and being connected with your vision, what's the vision for Camille moving forward from here? Where do you see yourself going?
You really want to hear all that? Oh goodness gracious.
Yes. 100%.
It might help someone get more clear and more solidified on their vision too, by hearing you talk about yours.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start off by saying this. I'm going to start off by saying this. I feel like I've been saying this a lot the last couple of weeks. It's important to be married to your vision and not the process. A lot of people get so caught up in what they're doing day to day, forgetting the vision, because they either don't have it written down or they're disconnected from it. You will get to your vision. That's what's guiding your direction. Don't let the processes guide your direction, because then you're just going to be lost. So I'm going to share my vision, and it may or may not make sense, but understand that everything that I'm doing
doesn't have to.
Yeah, that's true, right? But everything I'm doing is getting me to this vision. So,
okay.
I'm
excited.
I will be positioning myself very shortly as a home decor influencer, a prominent figure. I will be converting the property that I just bought into a country home, in which it will feature all of these Santos and Cruz products. I can't speak too much to it because there's a lot that's not like ready yet, or like a lot that we're working on behind the scenes, but it will be like the breeding ground for all of the aesthetics, all of the creativity that I have in my head. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's a lot there.
How does it feel to say that out loud?
It feels it feels really, really good. It feels
your clean little secret.
My clean little secret. I mean, every time I think about it, which is like all the time. I get really charged up. I get really like, when I get excited, I start to sweat a little. There's that.
It's a good sign. It's a good
right?
thing.
And
it's a really good sign.
And it makes it so easy. I know a lot of people have a hard time making decisions, but I'm telling you, like being the clearer your vision gets, the easier it is to make decisions. It is so easy for me to make decisions, for me to say yes, for me to say no to everything, literally everything in my life.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it makes decision making really easy.
Exactly. Right. And I don't do well with options. Like, I don't know. It's a Gemini thing I hear, but
I was literally just going to say that.
You give me 5, I'll buy all 5. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just how it works. It's usually why, like, I have the same shirt in 5 colors. Like, it's a real thing. It's a real thing I struggle with. But,
I cannot decide.
Right. So, and if I don't have to, I won't. But when it comes to my life and my vision, like it is so black and white. It's so black and white. There's no wiggle room when it comes to the vision. So it allows me to be very flexible to the process. And when something doesn't work, it's fine because I know it wasn't meant to work, because it's not going to get me to my vision. So I just wait for the next thing, or I seek out the next thing. And I really just go with my gut. I really just go with my gut.
Which is a lot easier to do when you have the vision solidified.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's not all just like impulse, like without thinking.
No.
The vision is there. That's what guides you.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful and like inspirational. Oh my goodness. You're so wise.
Yeah. Had this vision, I'm so curious if that vision had taken any form when you were still at your 12-year career, or if like leaving that career and taking on a new journey as an entrepreneur has like helped you get clearer on this vision or develop it, or.
That's such a great question. It definitely helped me being an entrepreneur and going through the motions and, trying all these things or doing all of these things has definitely helped me to develop my vision. If you asked me when I was still at my job, if I were to ever admit that I wanted to be a role model of any kind to anybody, the answer would be a hard no. So yes, being an entrepreneur absolutely helped. Even a year ago, there was still a lot that I was struggling with, with the creative side of me. Like I had a hard time identifying as a creative person, or admitting that I was even creative in any way, shape, or form. Some people would say like, oh my God, like I would never think of that. You're so creative. I'm like, nope. Like I would get defensive. Like that's how bad it was. I would get really defensive. But we're not there anymore. And we're definitely heading into some truths and being open to, all the things. And you guys know this about me. I don't like to subscribe to one label. It's just not in my DNA. It's not how it was designed. It's not how it was made. I'm
such a Gemini.
Yeah, right? I'm going to be all the things. All the things that I want to be. That's just what I'm going to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's good for you. That's like you're unapologetic about it. Like, you're like, that's just me. I have the self-awareness to know that's just me. That's how I operate. Exactly. And that's what I'm going to be.
That's where I work at my best. So.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Wow. Well, I feel like I learned so much from this conversation, Camille. This was so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where can people find you to follow along? I know that naturally multiple places.
Yeah.
Get your pens out, listeners.
Yeah. Okay. You ready? Are you ready, everybody? Okay, go.
Okay, so I'm just going to keep it really simple. You can find me on Instagram. That's what I'm doing right now. I am working on a YouTube, but that's to come in the future. But yeah, Instagram at workwithcamille.ca, or my website, www.workwithcamille.ca. And yeah, that's it. Or Santos and Cruz, whatever. It depends on what you're into, right? Like,
yeah. Well, Santos and Cruz, that's an important one. Yeah. Where can they find you for that? Because soon you're going to be an influencer.
Yeah, right. SantosandCruz.com, or on Instagram is at Santos and Cruz, Pinterest at Santos and Cruz. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then Harborfront. That's a whole other thing.
Still got their pens.
All 3 businesses here. Harborfront.com or .ca, or at Harborfront on Instagram.
And that's Harborfront, no vowels.
No vowels.
Yes, okay.
Because who doesn't like a good challenge?
Yeah.
Can I buy a vowel?
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely not.
Oh
That's not what we're about here. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, this was awesome. Thank you so much, Camille. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yes, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I love how all our episodes always end with like a bazillion thank yous. Like, to everybody.
thank
Thank you
you.
for listening. Thank you for
Talking.
Zoom. Thank you,
Thank you.
GarageBand. Yeah. Shout out to Liz. Anyway, all right, let's go. Thanks for listening, everybody.